All right, guys, gonna make an unpopular topic of a video that I've been thinking on for some time. I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this, but I don't care. I believe in today's day and age that cars are truly not leaving the factory. And let's talk somewhat performance cars. You know, maybe this car that I'm driving, a 2025 Hyundai Elantra N, you know, Honda Civic Type R, all the different kind of cars out there. I do not believe that cars today are in a safer and better place to be modified from the factory than they were 10, 15, 20 years ago. Let me explain why. Now, I'm not saying that if you've tuned your car, I'm sure everybody in the comments below go, hey, I tuned my car, I've had it tuned on stage 27 for 5,000 miles and it's just fine. Okay, great. 20 gold stars for you. Awesome. There's great stories everywhere of people modifying cars, tuning cars, and they do great. They're reliable, they don't have problems. But then there's also, on the other hand, a lot more horror stories of cars being tuned, modified, and they have issues. Now, we'll get into supporting modifications and the mistakes that people make and all of that later in the video. But if we go back in time just a little bit, back in the 90s, early 2000s, if cars had 200, 300 horsepower, that was pretty impressive. V8s back then were pushing 230, 240, and that was a big deal. Now, fast forward to now, manufacturers have pushed cars to their limits in a lot of ways, especially when they're trying to meet all of the EPA standards on fuel efficiency and all of that stuff. They're trying to check every single box. We want it to be as compliant as we can. We want it to be as fuel efficient as we can, emissions, all of that, and have as much horsepower, and we hope that people buy them. But what has happened in today's day and age is, I feel back in the day, cars were over-manufactured. They're over-manufactured for reliability. Look at the 2JZ engine, a lot of other examples from that time era. They were built to withstand more power, whether that is forced induction, tunes. They just were able to handle a lot more. And the cylinders, the liters on cars were much bigger. I mean, you look at the Toyota GR Corolla today is a 3-cylinder that's pushing out 100 horsepower per cylinder. You look at, you know, a Honda Civic Si that's a 1.5 liter pushing out 200 horsepower. You know, you look at the Elantra and you look at the Honda Civic Type R, you look at, there's so many examples out there, guys. We have Hellcats today, you know, pushing out 700-800 horsepower. You know, nowadays, if a car has 200 horsepower, it's really slow and fast, you know, backtrack. You know, a car had 200 horsepower is pretty fast, pretty impressive. But they're doing that with V8. So they're doing more with less displacement now. And I think engines are overly stressed. Now, that doesn't mean you can't have good experiences. Like the new VBWRX, it handles modifications and tunes really well. Although, guys, as you're tuning and doing things to your cars, some cars require a tune if you put an air intake on them. Some of them don't. Some of them are matte-based. Some of them aren't. Like, you can't just go to buy an off-the-shelf tune or different things and just slap them on your car, and then it gives manufacturers a bad reputation. So that's a whole nother video, a whole nother segment, different thing. But you got to make sure that you're being smart in how you're modifying your car and what you're doing it. And if you're adding all that power, something's got to give at some point. Is it your transmission? And that's where the VBs get weak, is around, you know, just under that 400 horsepower, is right around 400 is kind of the limit. But still, that car gets pretty freaking awesome, you know, with that. So I would say Subaru's done a good job of understanding their community and doing it. But I've heard horror stories on the GR Corolla. I've seen issues on Honda Civic Type Rs. I've seen issues on Hyundai Elantra Ns. I've seen issues on a lot of different cars where they throw an intake on it or a tune, or intakes thrown check engine lights. These cars are over-engineered, and over-engineered in a bad way, in my opinion. There's so many electronics, there's so many sensors. They're trying to check so many boxes that I just truly believe if you guys are tuning your car in today's world or modifying it, you are playing with fire more than ever. And maybe you guys are fine with that. Maybe you're good with that. Maybe you want to throw in a bigger turbo. Maybe you want to work on, you know, your car and do some internal stuff and different things. But manufacturers today, I just feel like there's so much more technology of ways to make the car more efficient, more powerful. But I also feel manufacturers today aren't building cars to last for 200,000 miles, 300,000 miles. They're just not. Even if you look at the new Toyota Tacomas and some of their 4-cylinder engine and stuff, it is not the old SR5 Toyotas of yesteryears or their V6s. A lot of these manufacturers, you can't tell me that they don't have studies of how long these cars can withhold or withstand the driving dynamics, driving characteristics, the miles, the pressure, the power of the car. We all argue today, oh, Hyundai or whoever isn't reliable or blah, 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 blah. Insert any brand, they all have their issues, and they all have their hero cars that last for forever. But I also think manufacturers trying to squeeze the most performance out of cars, and I also don't think they're building them to withstand what cars used to be able to withstand, which is 200,000, 300,000, 400,000 miles. I mean, some Lexuses out there, are going on 1,000,000 miles, or Toyotas or Hondas or different things. But I just think we live in a day and age, guys, where if you're buying these performance cars, I would say outside of anything with a V8 and even V8s, I mean, these ECUs are locked. You can't tune them. You can't modify them. I would just say the less displacement that engine has, the more trouble you're asking for when it's coming to modifying your engine. That's just my personal opinion. That's just my personal take on this subject, is because they're packing so much power and torque into these engines. They're already somewhat stressed as it is. And I just don't feel they've built these cars to have someone come in and tune them and modify them. They've tried tuning them and modifying them to get the absolute most power, check all the boxes for you guys as consumers to go, hey, yeah, we'll buy that. Yeah, that's awesome. But they don't leave much gap in there for you guys to modify or get a whole lot more horsepower out of these cars. And so that is my take. Now, I'm sure all of you out there have had cars and you've tuned them, you've modified them on new cars and had great success and great stories, and that's for sure possible. I'm not saying you're doomed. I'm just saying you're playing with fire and tuning and modifying cars in today's day and age, built today. And the less displacement that car has, the smaller the cylinders that car has, in my opinion, you are playing with fire. The less it has, the more fire you're playing with. Thank you guys for watching. It's my opinion. Catch you on the next one.
Mm.